Sian, thanks for joining me today on the Financial Planner Life podcast. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Sam. Thanks for having me.
That's all right, no worries. We finally got around to doing it, didn't we? Because we've been trying for a little while and a few cancellations here and there either side, but we're there.
Yep. Nice to finally be here.
Fabulous. Okay, and a fellow Bristolian as well.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not very far away from each other. Yeah. We live on the right side of the country.
Absolutely, the best. The Southwest is the best, as they say. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't argue.
Okay, cool. Okay, brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm always pleased to bring Paraplanners onto the Financial Planner Life podcast, because throughout my 13 years of working within the profession as a recruitment consultant, I've seen the role of a paraplanner evolve from being this kind of person who sits in the back office that didn't really have a job title, which is a bit of a dog's body or something like that. And all of a sudden coming into this profession, coming out of it, coming into a role within the profession within its own rights. So I love bringing paraplanners on and talking about it, because not everybody knows what a financial planner does. But I tell you what, outside of the profession, not many people know really what a paraplanner does, or even what they actually do. They hear of the word paralegal, but never paraplanner. So it'd be great today to hear a little bit about your journey, how you got into the profession, and we'll talk a little bit about your transition, I think, from being employed to then going self-employed as a freelance paraplanner. Again, something that's kind of evolved over the last few years for a select number of experienced paraplanners who have that confidence and want to kind of step out and set their own businesses up and work for themselves, where there's quite a bit of appetite, I believe. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll also talk about your passion project, which is the Paraplanner Club, and why you set it up, and what you're hoping to achieve with it, really, and what you've achieved so far. So lots to talk about. So how I always like to begin is by sort of just you giving us an overview of how you got into the profession. That's quite an interesting place to start, because lots of people like to get into the financial planning profession, but don't quite know how to get in it. And you sharing your journey will obviously inspire and give them some ideas. So very briefly, how did you get into the profession?
So it's a long story, but I can condense it down, which I will do. And for me, like you, it really interests me, the career journey that people have gone on, and something that I also have to talk about quite a lot, because going into financial planning and into paraplanning, it's not kind of there isn't you do this and then you do that and then you're a paraplanner or you're a financial planner. There's a long process to go down, and it means getting experience. And unfortunately, that's not something you can sit and exam and do. You have to get the experience by doing various things in different roles to get there. So I've had quite a varied history. So I'll summarize that very briefly. But all of that, I feel there's so many different areas that I've seen and experienced that they have then led me on to being really well kind of grounded in my experience and the different things that I've seen which really help. But it's also really hard to quantify all of that stuff when you're trying to kind of explain to anyone coming into the industry or trying to train people up, because you don't kind of note down all of these separate experiences that you have and how they've built into your way of thinking. But yeah, so just very briefly, so it all started off me working for a bank, a high street bank, as a gap year. I didn't intend to kind of make that a real career for myself, and actually never really intended for that to happen, but enjoyed myself there. I was client facing at that point in a branch, opening accounts, doing loans, getting sort of a bit involved in things like mortgages and that sort of thing. It was very salesy, and I could tell for me I didn't really enjoy that sales bit when the pressure was on, but I was good at it. So as long as no one was saying you've got a target, then I could do it quite easily. As soon as they say there's a target, you need to sell this thing, I did not like that. And these were the days before RDR, and things were a bit different then. Sales pressures were very different to what they are now. You had targets, you had to meet them, you had bonuses on those targets if you achieved them, and you could make some good money. So yeah.
This is when you were working for a bank, though, yeah? So
Yes.
So you were working for HSBC at the time, yeah?
Yes.
So it was kind of like like an account manager, were you selling loans or bank accounts, or
yes, yeah. so my starting role was, I was a person where you walk into the branch and I would be the person that you would see if you walked in and said, I want to open a bank account, or I want to get a loan, or I want to talk to someone about the mortgage. I would be one of those people that would say, yeah, I can talk to you about that. I can do that for you. And it was an interesting experience, because it wasn't just, okay, I'm just going to open you a bank account. They did have a really good process in terms of, you had to find out about the client, fact finding, know your client, as well as the kind of anti-money laundering stuff. There was a normal kind of what I now see as a financial planning fact find. It was, you go through, tell me about your life, tell me about your work, tell me about your family, tell me about your aspirations. So you did go through all of that kind of stuff. And that's where I kind of learned that for me, building those relationships was something that I could do. I enjoyed doing that, and the sales came off the back of it. So I quite enjoyed doing that.
Very good starting point for anybody that wants to get into the financial services, and really as well, great starting point for anybody who's looking to gain that exposure and experience that will take them into client-facing roles, such as a financial advisor, where the banks used to be this beautiful place where you could kind of start as a CSO, say at HSBC, or a personal banker at NatWest, and if you were good and you were learning and you were getting the sales in, then you would instantly sort of move more into the mortgage advisor route, or you would move into the financial advisor route, wouldn't you? And that sort of closure of the bank assurance, if you like, has kind of limited the training opportunities for people to get into the financial planning profession. So that's an area where it's kind of hindered the growth, isn't it, a little bit, financial advice. But interestingly,
exactly.
Then, you were at HSBC then, okay? You kind of realized there a bit you didn't particularly like the sales element of it, but enjoyed the relationship side then. So whilst you were at HSBC, did you step into a role in a kind of power planning capacity? Did they have something like that there? Where did you start to learn about power planning?
Yeah. So I did in an easy response. Yeah, I did. So from moving from being kind of the person that you would walk into the branch and see, I then moved into a kind of a higher net worth, looking after a bank of clients kind of role, where I would meet with those clients more like a financial planner now, but it was non-regulated. So I would be talking to these clients that have a certain amount of money, getting them to move it out of their current account to savings, maybe invest it possibly, and introducing them to the IFA that we could introduce them to, potentially. But so just a bit more of a personal relationship. So looking after those kind of clients, and that's where the pressure for me, it was certainly on even more so, and I was even more falling out of love with that kind of pressure. So knowing that I could do it, but also knowing that it wasn't really me. I was happy with kind of doing analysis, looking at numbers, sitting in the back office, seeing the clients. Was fine. It was nice. It was okay. I was good at doing it, but it wasn't really my passion. I could tell that. And at that point, like you said, there was lots of kind of financial advice was a big part of banks at that point. So I was seeing financial planners quite often, having good relationships with them, and certainly in that role as well, because I was having to introduce my clients to them. So, and they wanted me to do that. So, so we had good relationships there. But and that's where I kind of started learning about investments, and also learning how to explain things simply to clients that don't understand investments, and found out that I was actually quite good at doing that. So and that was a really key part for me. But also, you're learning all about how good am I at communicating, and you're kind of building up those skills over time, seeing what comes naturally, and seeing where your needs really are, and also what you want to develop. So I was doing that role for a short time. The financial planners were sort of talking to me and kind of said they were going through diploma at that point, because at that point nobody was diploma qualified. They'd done kind of level 3 certificates. That's all you needed to be a financial planner at that point, as well as being a really good salesperson. But this was at the point where RDR was coming in, 2010, 11. They knew it was coming. They were getting their sales force ready to be able to just take that leap into being okay in the post RDR world. So they were doing their diplomas, and the best bit of advice that I got from one of them was just start on that journey, get it done. So I thought, well, fine, yeah, let's do this. I'm serious about, I'll enjoy this. I'm serious about building a career. So let's get on with it. So being in a bank, it was very much aligned with the what is now the LIBF, because that's much more, it was banking focused, but did provide a route into level 4. So started off doing my certificate level exams with them, which was CIFA, and then just progressed through doing those. At that point, then a paraplanning job came up in the London, central London office, and it was a trial. It was a project. They didn't have them at that point. The financial planners would do their own paraplanning. They would have an administrator, but they would do their own paraplanning. They didn't have anybody else kind of that they were collaborating with, working with on cases, making sure that clients are getting the right advice, and they would just be doing it themselves. So they wanted to trial this out to see whether it was something that was going to be productive, going to be useful for the business, and they tried it in kind of failed to think what the term was, but it was like ultra high net worth clients and ultra high net worth advisors. This was central London, dealing with Canary Wharf, and I worked in Regent Street, so it was so it was really interesting, but a new kind of phenomenon of a team, a project, and a theory. But I had advice along the way from the financial planners I was working with. Were very much like, oh yeah, I've heard about this new thing called paraplanning. That along with the diploma sounds like a good place to go. So get on that journey. So it was just those snippets of advice for me were just key things. I thought, actually this sounds really great. It sounds like a really interesting experience to get on board with.
So post RDR, all of a sudden this opportunity, this vacancy comes up at HSBC Paraplanner. I wonder what that is. It sounds like something I'd be interested in. I mean, even the advisors themselves were kind of, I've heard of this type of need, this role in the post RDR world. And you went there as a kind of almost trial, but it ticked the boxes for you as a person as to how you wanted to progress your career and what interested you, what you were passionate about. You realized early on by having a taste of it that sales, that kind of pressure that comes with sales as well, wasn't for you, but the actual interest lied in the actual research and the compliance side, or the understanding the products a bit more, and making sure that the research was in place to ensure that the right product was being put in front of the right clients, for instance. So did you, one of the major benefits, I guess, from being branch based and dealing with the clients as they walk through the door in a CSO capacity, was also as well the relationship building skills that you gained. So, moving from that role then into, say, paraplanning, which can be heavy on the administration. Do you think that it added value to you?
The building relationship bit?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, I was running a webinar yesterday all about relationship building.
Okay.
Because it's the bit of paraplanning that no one tells you that you really, really need. Because I've worked with so many paraplanners that don't acknowledge that you need those skills, because it's not about relationship building. It's not about people. It's about, I've come here and I'm a technical expert and I'm good at doing admin, and that's what I like doing. I like sitting in the back office and writing reports, keeping myself to myself, kind of. That tends to be the kind of generalization of the role. But actually, if you don't build relationships with your financial planners that you're working with as a minimum, then you're not going to be a very good paraplanner. And I couldn't imagine enjoying the job if I wasn't good at doing that and didn't build those relationships. Because financial planners, as a general, if they don't know you, they don't trust you, because they don't know whether you know your stuff. They don't know how committed you are. They don't know how involved you're going to get in the advice or want to get involved in it. And it's different for every person, because not everybody has the confidence or even wants to get that involved in kind of that level. Or some paraplanners might not even want to get involved in going to client meetings and things like that. But some very much are open to that kind of kind of route as well. But as a minimum, I can't see how if you don't have a good relationship with your financial planner, you can't be really honest with them, and you certainly can't challenge them in a way where it's good for both of you. Because you can't say to somebody, and wouldn't want to say to somebody, what you're doing is not right technically, or or there's another option. To say to them, you're not doing this right, there's another option you need to consider. You need to be able to frame that in a way that is going to be accepted, is going to be, it's not going to cause a rift. It's just going to build and strengthen the relationship you've already got. So because it just won't be productive for anybody if you don't do that, and the end client is the one that's going to lose out at the end of that if you don't make sure that the client has got the right thing.
Have you seen, that's very interesting. Yeah, the relationship side of it is definitely something when I come across power planners, and some of them don't have any experience of a background within building strong relationships. You can totally see the difference. Even just how they communicate with us here in the recruitment world and trying to articulate what they've done. And it's very, very different to somebody that's used to sitting down with clients on a face-to-face basis in any capacity. You could really work in a travel agent. I mean, travel agents is one of those fantastic environments where you learn so many skills, and opening people up, understanding what their fears are, worries are, concerns are, and dealing with all sorts of things. And that's a great example. But I think having that experience within the banking environment and bringing it across must have been absolutely spot on for you. Did you find in your early stages, because obviously you were at the bank and then you left the bank and you moved into a paraplanner position at Ativo, didn't you?
I did.
Now, without sort of me, in those early stages of paraplanning and early stages of your career, did you often feel a little bit like you were considered to be below the financial advisor, that you weren't as important as the financial advisor? And there was almost this kind of, what's the word, like where submissive almost, that you have to do what they say as opposed.
I work for the financial planner and I am effectively their assistant. It's like that in some places, and for me it's all down to the culture. Partially it is down to the culture. It all comes from the top, but it also comes from paraplanners stepping up and having those relationships with those financial planners, having the confidence to have the relationships, and also having the self-belief in their own knowledge and in themselves, their self-understanding. Because if they do that, they will get a different relationship with the financial planners that they work with, even if the culture in the firm is not quite there in terms of paraplanners and financial planners being on the same level. If they act like they're on the same level, if they put their mindset on the same level as the financial planner, those financial planners will see them on that same level, and you will get a different relationship than you have otherwise. But it's all about your own attitude, your own mentality, and how you approach your work. Because if you are someone as a paraplanner that just has a mentality that I'm just here from 9 to 5, I'm going to just write my report and do what I'm told, I'm not going to question anything. And some paraplanners are told to work like that and have to work like that. There's no other option. But if that's what you are doing, and that's the way that the firm is sort of making you work, then you're submitting to that kind of relationship. You're just doing what you're told. You're not questioning things. Especially when things, you might want to question something because you think, actually, it doesn't seem like the right thing to do for the client, or there is maybe another option, and I can't see why you wouldn't do that. And in different cases, it will be stronger than others. There might be a simple kind of, are you doing a pension contribution or an ISA contribution from cash? Why aren't you doing a pension contribution as well? And those are the kind of things that it might be on the file, it might not. There might be an obvious reason why it hasn't been considered, but where there isn't an obvious reason, it's like, okay, I really need to know that now. Am I going to push that question, or am I just going to write my report just so I can get it off my desk? And if you're writing the report to get it off your desk, you're not going to have those strong relationships, and you are just going to be working for a financial planner rather than working with them, because they need collaboration. They are relying on paraplanners to cross-check their advice, to make sure that the advice is good, to make sure the file's good. And it's only really the paraplanner, other than the financial planner, that's going to have a feel for that, because they literally have to write in a report, what I'm recommending to you is X, Y, and Z, and I'm justifying that because of X, Y, and Z. And if you can't piece those two bits together, then nobody else is going to kind of stop that from happening. It's or change that at all. And it's the end client that is benefiting or not benefiting from that being right. And for me, it's all about having that as a focus, making sure that the end client is the one that's in my mind when we're thinking about these things.
So do you often think like that then? So are you often quite worried, and not worried as such, but you have a commitment as a member of that team, as a member of a financial planning firm, to make sure that you are 100% happy with what is actually being delivered to that financial advisor for them to go and actually provide the right advice. Because although it's not your name that's attached to the advice, you are playing a vital role in ensuring that the client has the best experience possible and gets the best advice. Exactly. So you have to have that attention to detail, I assume. You have to have that passion to deliver the right thing, to do the right values, the right attitudes, you put it earlier.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really strange, because you work with, as a paraplanner, you work with so many different financial planners, different ages, different experiences, different values, different ways of doing things. You work with some that are really salesy, and that you can tell that that's what's really interests them, and they're not so hot on the technical stuff, which is fine, because that's why they've got us. Whereas some want all the technical stuff and might tell the clients too much technical information, for example. But it's about getting all of those different different skills of being able to build relationships really comes in, because you need to be able to read those people that you're working with and understand, okay, so I'm going to make some assumptions, and now are they the right assumptions that I'm making, and then how do I communicate that with you, because some of them very much are relying on you. A new financial planner coming in, some of them will be very honest with you and say, look, I'm relying on you because I need you, and I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't got the experience and you have, so I'm going to need you to help me. And but that honesty is really that opens up that relationship straight away. Paraplanners can do that as well, and I think it's that really builds a really nice relationship.
That's very interesting, because as the profession loses advisors, experienced advisors, the less experienced advisors are coming through. If you've got people transitioning from sales background, relationship-based backgrounds, where they might not have the skill set required to be sitting and researching, and they've done enough to get their qualifications, they're great at building relationships, going out and winning clients, but maybe not as good as a power planner in understanding the technical side of everything. It's interesting, isn't it, that the power planner is going to be this very stable backbone to the growth of the financial planning profession going forward? Because anybody coming in with, I've got my level 4, I want to be an advisor now, and it's like, well, you don't know it all.
It's a dangerous place to be.
Here's somebody
taking somebody as a financial planner, who you're taking them as a financial planner because they've got their level 4 diploma. The diploma does not teach you enough to be a good paraplanner or financial planner. It's a starting point. And then the experience has to kick in. So it's, how do you get that experience without making mistakes that are costing a client?
So interesting.
You have to make mistakes, because that's how you learn. But if you make mistakes that cost a client, then you're putting your job at risk, and you're not doing what you should be doing. So
I've never seen it from that perspective, where the power planner becomes the vital part of the business, which almost trains and supports the advisor in their learning and in their confidence. You always kind of assume, well, I'm an advisor, I'm coming in, and I suppose the ego there or the arrogance might take over, and you're like the support. We're at the support in respect of doing my admin and doing the admin and doing all the stuff that I don't want to do, where actually it's like you need to build a bloody good relationship with a good power planner, because they're your eyes and ears, and they're the ones that might well be your safety net when you don't know what you're doing.
And if you as a financial planner build a good relationship with your paraplanner, that paraplanner will, they will bend over backwards for you. You get treated in some funny ways as a paraplanner. And are you going to bend over backwards for a financial planner or anyone that you work with that treats you in a certain way? No, because you will just come in and you will do your 9 to 5 and you'll write that report and you won't question it, because it's not appreciated, and that relationship just isn't forthcoming. And that's not down, sometimes not down to you, it's down to just the financial planner. Sometimes just having that mindset that I'm a financial planner and you will do what you're told. And you'll never have a good relationship with those people if you want to be on that same level with them. It's really interesting. But I've seen this in practice. As soon as you start building that relationship and saying, I am an expert at this, certain financial planners will just go, oh my God, that's great. I'm going straight to Sian. As soon as I get a whiff of a case that's like that, I know that Sian absolutely loves tax planning, absolutely is, a star on estate planning stuff. So I'm going to go to her because I've got a client that might need that stuff. And I know that she's got my back. She will happily talk to clients if I ever needed her to, and she'll write a great report. obviously, blow my own trumpet there, but it's you literally see this happening, in firms, whereas with other relationships you just see that not fostering anything. It just doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, you set up as a self-employed freelance paraplanner as opposed to an employed paraplanner, haven't you? So you've worked with multiple different financial advisors in different capacities. But have you seen throughout your time and experienced a bad financial advisor relationship with a paraplanner?
Oh yeah, I've seen it, I've experienced it. Yeah.
And just talk to us about that. For you, what was it that made it a bad experience?
I think the experience that I've had, so there wasn't necessarily a culture in the firm that fostered it. So it didn't kind of say, the paraplanning team and the financial planning team, you work together and you're equal. There was definitely, there was not that message. You weren't sitting together, you weren't treated the same in terms of the respect. There was, pre-lockdown, certainly there was very much a mentality, and I think there still is, of, you're a paraplanner, so you are in the office, you are sitting at your desk from 9 to 5, and you will not go and work at home. And I know that that's very general, but I know that those kind of attitudes existed, and I think they still exist now. As soon as the doors opened, then it was like, right, paraplanners back in. Oh, you're a financial planner, you can work from home, you can come into the office whenever you like. And for people, I think employers are seeing it now. If they're not that flexible, they will only attract a certain type of people now, because like we were talking about earlier, we're both parents. That really, having that flexibility is really key for me. Does that mean that I'm going to work less hours? No, it means I actually probably work more, because I will, pick up work at the weekends or work at the evenings and things like that. It's not about, working less hours necessarily. It's just about, I just want to, I don't want to work this afternoon because I need to go and do this or that, or and just balancing family life. So I think that's the kind of one of the struggles that's been had. But it's not all down to culture, because you can the top down can say, you're treated on the same level. I think that really helps. But it is also down to individual financial planners just having different attitudes. And that partially is them, but it's also partially the other paraplanners that they've worked with. If they've only ever worked with paraplanners that do what they're told, they're going to have the view that is what a paraplanner does. They're not going to have the view that a paraplanner should be somebody that they can collaborate with, someone that is on the same level as them, someone that's got their back and they can absolutely trust and work with, rather than just give them a file and then they do a report and give it back to you.
So some of the alarm bells that would be ringing for maybe somebody listening to this podcast who is maybe an administrator or a paraplanner sitting within a firm is, how are you treated?
Yeah.
How are you viewed by the others within the business? Are you segregated? Do they compartmentalize? Is what you do over there and what they do over there? Do they go out and have the fun stuff? And do you get involved in that? Are you allowed to work from home as much as they're allowed to work from home? Are you treated differently? And I've experienced that massively over the years, talking to administrators and paraplanners, where they just feel like they are not part of the business. They don't feel connected to it. They're not brought into meetings. They're not asked their opinions, investment meetings, committees, all that kind of stuff, even the client meeting. And what you're seeing now is the good firms, the people that really value their staff and everybody within the business for what they actually do. There is this engagement. Can I bring that person into this meeting? What value can they add in this transformation meeting? Because it's not just all about the client meeting, it's about the development of the business as well, and about the valuable insight that somebody has when they're working a process, whether it be administrative back office function, compliance, power planning. They have a vital experience of doing the job, and they can give so much back board to the company to allow the company to grow, but also to foster, as you say, a far greater, more inclusive culture. And that is important. It's hugely important. People shouldn't feel like they're on the side and they're just an expensive need, an expensive
Exactly.
need to have.
Exactly. And, and it's really also about, understanding that different people are in different roles, not
Mm.
because they're, not good enough to be a financial planner, or they're not as confident, so they can't do that. You can be a great financial planner, and you can be a great paraplanner. You can be absolutely on the same level. But it is all about making that happen, but understanding there's a difference. So for me, understanding that my personality type is different from generally speaking, different from a financial planner personality type. Well, that's a really easy point, because you've got one personality, I've got a different type of personality, so I can be great at what I do and you can be great at what you do. That's a really good way of understanding why people are in different roles, and
Mm.
understanding how different people can, how you need to talk to different people, how different people work, but also how different people can contribute differently to the thing you're trying to achieve, just by looking at it from different angles. I think it's really, really interesting. And where I've worked in firms where we've done personality testing, and
Mm.
actually, this for me started when I was at the bank, going through sales training processes. Personality testing, negotiation training, it's all part of what I went through. And it really just, if you're somebody that is open to learning from those kinds of experiences, you just go, right, okay, you might say, oh, I don't agree with that result. But actually it might be just a bit too much truth for you, and you just need time to process that and accept that, or it might not be right. And that can really help you then as a person develop and get that confidence, because you actually understand yourself, and can make decisions then about what you are doing for your career and your life. Because if you're an introvert and you're in a role that is requires somebody who's extroverted, you're not going to feel happy in that role.
Mm.
You can try, but you'll always feel like there's a mismatch. You'll never feel at peace. So it's about making sure that you can move to something that is really aligned to you and your personality type, or the personality type you want to be, that you can then work towards.
So flipping it on its head, have you obviously we're sort of progressing through your career here at pace, but you're now obviously outsourced, and you're working with financial advisors of multiple different firms, correct?
Yes, that's right. And I would use the term outsourced as opposed to freelance,
Okay.
only because we there are freelance paraplanners in the industry, and they tend to work kind of, they're very individual. They tend to just be a bit more be able to pick up work and not pick up work. Whereas we, as an outsourced paraplanning firm, we have clients that we onboard. They're a specific type of client. We choose to have their relationship both from them and from us. And if they're not the right client for us, and we're not the right outsourced paraplanning company for them, we won't work together. So it's very much a kind of a committed relationship, where you're making that decision to work together. And the reason for that is so that you can build those relationships, because we are not interested in having that kind of conveyor belt paraplanning kind of service. It's very much, we see ourselves as an extension of a paraplanning or a financial planning firm. And we're just their paraplanning team that they have.
You're trying to embed yourself, within their business, as a vital part. And interesting that then. So have you found that the outsourced function of paraplanning is something there is of great appetite for? Do you find that firms feel more comfortable not having the responsibility, let's say, of hiring somebody, of managing somebody? They're out, having to do their holidays and their pay and all that kind of things. Are you finding the appetite growing for it?
Yes, absolutely. And years ago I would have said I would never want to be an outsourced paraplanner, and that was down to the experience that I had working in financial planning firms, having to use outsourced paraplanning companies, and they were a certain type of company, and I didn't want to do that bit. Then I realized actually it's not all the same. So yeah, I think absolutely there is a demand growing. Every outsourced paraplanner that is out there absolutely backs that up. It just seems to be exploding. And I think the lockdown and COVID has probably a lot to answer for that, because people are, the working from home situation, the flexibility around working, it's opened people's eyes to the fact that that's an option, and some employers don't like to be able to offer that flexibility to paraplanners, and now they've got a choice. So that's one kind of one reason. But also managing people generally, it is hard work if that's not what you're interested in doing. I now speak as an employer now that we have a team, and it is something that you have to want to do, and I'm quite happy doing that, and so it works for me. But you have to actively make a choice that you're going to be doing that. So that's one part of it. But it's choosing a paraplanner that is that is going to be good for your business. That's a really difficult decision. but also managing that paraplanner. And this is where I've seen it in firms. If it's usually the directors, the owners, they're usually financial planners. They are managing the paraplanners that they're employing. And that's really difficult because they're a different personality type generally. They're doing a different job. And that's where the culture thing really comes in and is really, really important, because then you can make the decision: do I then employ a head of paraplanning? And I've obviously been in that role before. But heads of paraplanning are very expensive, and they're not writing reports, so it's really difficult to see kind of there's no literal output because there is no reports being written. But the value they add to the firms is all through the collaboration, the building the culture, making sure the team are looked after, and also builds into what we touched on earlier, which is kind of making people that are maybe administrators, maybe just entry level coming into a firm, or paraplanners building experience. How are they building their career? How are they getting what they want? Is there someone that's actually asking them the questions? What do you want as a career, and how are we going to get there? Because in my experience, that piece has been very much missing in paraplanning teams. It's just brought in as a paraplanner, you're doing the job that I need you to do, but you might not be questioned about what more exams might you want to do, where do you want to get to, unless you say I want to be a financial planner, and then they're like, great, okay, come on then, this is a journey, I'll get you in as a financial planner. But if that's not the answer for you, then there isn't generally an awful lot of interest in it.
You raised something quite interesting there about the route of becoming a paraplanner, because it's always kind of like administrator, senior administrator, bam, you're a paraplanner. But the term paraplanner, the word paraplanner, the job title paraplanner is so it's used for everything. And
it's so vague.
it's so vague. And it's like, well, what level of paraplanner do you want? And if someone said senior paraplanner, why can't the role of a paraplanner be broken down even further? So it's far easier to take somebody on a career progression journey, through it. Honestly, we got a recruitment consultant, but we have I think it's 5 stages, 6 stages almost, to becoming like a top end recruitment consultant. But you're learning each progressive part throughout that journey, but it's very clear and very obvious what each step is, and each step has a goal, and each step has competencies that you have to complete to get to the next one and it keeps you motivated. But also from our perspective, we can very quickly ascertain where somebody sits within it based on their experience. And a lot of firms just don't invest in that career progression, that career framework, if you like, for paraplanners. It's just, get me a paraplanner. I want a paraplanner. It's like, well, fuck. They don't grow on trees, mate. It's like, what level of paraplanner? Well, I don't want to pay more than 30,000. And
it always comes down to money.
It's always money. It's never experience or the type of person that I want in my business, or how they fit in, or what value they add, or what experience they have. It's just, I want a paraplanner for this much money.
Exactly. And the experience part as well is not just about years, it's about what have they got experience in doing. And what is the firm doing? Is the firm a real financial planning firm where you build cash flow with clients? You talk about the client's goals and dreams and what they actually want to achieve, and it's not just about a pension and an ISA. Because that experience is the bit that you absolutely do not learn in any of the exams. The real how to build a financial plan is the bit that kind of that's the bit that you learn as you go through your career. And you need experience to be able to get there. And there's things like CFP that do help you with that. But, I'm just going through that sort of journey now. And I couldn't have imagined trying to go through that, 5 years, 10 years ago, because I couldn't see that happening, because the experience and combined with the knowledge that I've gained just amounts to being able to do that, not naturally, but kind of, it's much more ingrained in how I work. So it's much easier for me to kind of take that next step and see it. You've got the basics, and then you've got the bit on top of the basics, and then you've got the next level, and then you've got the next level of knowledge, and you can then build that into all of that. So it's really about, what exact experience have they got? What the technicalities of what platforms might they be comfortable with, and what systems are they using? Yeah, absolutely. That does form a big part of it. But what are they used to doing? How are they used to working? Do they collaborate with a financial planner? Do they challenge? Have they built relationships? Do they get involved in real financial planning, or do they just write reports for an ISA and a pension, and just follow and just do what they're told?
Being a paraplanner who's quite well connected, and obviously setting up the Paraplanner Club, you probably speak to a number of different paraplanners at varying stages in their career that have all had different experiences. Do you find that sometimes where there was such a huge demand for power planners and a distinct lack of fact-finding questions to establish what that experienced power planner actually have. Do you think there's been a lot of promotions, if you like, people who've got like a year's worth of power planning experience on a 25k salary, all of a sudden getting a 40k salary? Has there been this kind of mismatch between salary increases and expectations of experience?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's a lot of talk about, paraplanner salaries potentially being a bit overinflated. And I think, I think I've experienced that and seen that. But then also I've seen the sort of the other side of that as well, of, firms just not willing to pay enough for someone, like me, someone who's got all of that experience and just and then adding so much more than just being a paraplanner. So it's really difficult, when you focus on the money side of it, it really restricts kind of the kind of person you're going to get and to fill that job. But yeah, I think it's really difficult to kind of get that right, because paraplanners are in demand. They absolutely, firms need them, whether it's outsourced, whether it's in-house. You need paraplanners. Quantifying the kind of paraplanner you want in your business, that's the difficult bit, because really you need the paraplanning team to tell you what kind of paraplanner you need to add to that team. And you need to ask them, what do they actually need? The first thing they'll probably say is someone to lead us that is a paraplanner, and then they'll say, well, how much does that cost? And they're not going to be writing reports. But then the owners, the directors, the managers, they can just step back completely away from paraplanning and hold one person to account for how that team is running. And they are then responsible for making those journeys happen, that the progression happen as well.
But these business owner managers that are more than likely financial advisors just don't want to spend 45 grand or 50 grand on hiring a head of finance, a head of power planning who's not going to be report writing.
No.
They just don't want to do it, and they can't afford it. And I can totally understand that. So you can see why the outsourced power planning model works. Yes. And I think it will work very, very well over the coming 5 to 10 years, because I do feel that the financial planning profession is in its infancy. It's not established a profession as accountancy solicitors, and I genuinely see it being a boom over the next 5 to 10 years of almost startups. It feels like it's almost in a startup phase. So you've got lots of these smaller firms will be jumping up, and there'll be huge amounts of confidence to do so, because it's so easy to set your website up and set your business up and join a network and grab a power planner. So people are going to be willing to do that, and people have got more confidence around personal branding, etc., to do that. So we're in this kind of boom area, and for those individuals, hiring a power planner is just not feasible. It's not feasible to do it, and they kind of want to work on a case-by-case basis or a contractual basis where they try things out. What I loved about what you said there as well is that a power planner who's outsourced, and as a company might have multiple people within that company of different varying levels of skill set, but also personality. And I love the fact that you said that you have to kind of challenge that financial planner, ask them questions to ascertain what type of power planner it is they actually require. And I think that's a hugely valuable thing that a lot of recruitment consultants can do. They don't really truly fully understand or have they're transactional in their approach. I've got something. Do you want to employ that? It's down to you to ask the questions. And I think you fill that gap between being able to really truly understand and challenge based on experience what that firm actually require. And I think that's very, very valuable. And I think that's a great, if you guys aren't doing that anyway, not to teach you to suck eggs, that should be a huge focus, is just to educate financial planners. Right. Well, what is your power planning team looking like? What do you understand the skills that you're missing? What's causing you pain? In all those kind of reality checks, isn't it? That will really, really help them, because some of the things that I've done in my own business, like bringing in a finance director, has been like so valuable, having somebody do all my finances and then report back to me every month with some lovely spreadsheets and send all the invoices off. And we don't have to do any of that. And it just frees you up to do something completely different. And we've got sort of outsourced administration and in-house. I've just started a new marketing girls coming in to take over the marketing, because as a business owner myself, I'm wearing the marketing hat and I'm fed up with it, if I'm honest with you. I've done it. I want to focus on relationships because that's what I love. I want to build some new client relationships and bring some money in because that's my area of expertise. And I think, I have to go out and I have to be challenged by marketing agencies and, marketeers to tell me, look, Sam, you need to let it go and you need to let us do it so you can use your time more effectively. And I can speak wholeheartedly that when you do that, it takes away a load of stress because you're not spinning as many plates and you're not putting this huge amount of pressure on yourself. You're not trying to do 3 jobs in one,
And doing 3 jobs is fine if they are your choice, that you want to do those jobs and that's what you're really good at and you love doing it. But if you don't, it's just about being really honest and going, I don't really care how much it costs for me to not do that job anymore, because then I can do what I love, but also I might actually have a bit more free time if that's the goal as well. So yeah, it's just about being really open and honest and just, not seeing it as weak, not seeing it as something that I should be able to do myself because I'm a business owner. There's no need to do it. You get somebody else to do it, and as soon as you do that, you see value immediately. I think anyway. And yeah, going back to the point about being honest with clients that we take on, absolutely. One of the first things I say to them is we will collaborate. You will be challenged. And they're usually coming to us because that's exactly what they want. They're just usually just on their own, and they need a second opinion. They need another voice, someone to have a look at that file and make sure that client is getting the best thing, as well as being compliant. That's obviously a big thing, but it's making sure that they are doing the right thing for their client because they know that that's absolutely what they want to do. They just need somebody else to just back that up.
Sian, going back over that then, so you've gone through a paraplanner route of being paraplanner in-house, we'll call it in-house, working for a firm as a paraplanner, worked your way up to like a paraplanner manager, weren't you, essentially, at one point? Yep. Now, that was your experience. Now, one thing I'm seeing with the outsourced firms growing is that they're also now hiring directly into their outsourced firms, aren't they, to be able to support growth of new clients. Yep. Now, if someone was listening to this and one of them was on their first part of their journey, I want to become a paraplanner, but I've got no experience, for example, so I want to start from the bottom. Do you think that type of person would be a good fit to go straight into an outsourced firm? Or do you think they should really go into a firm, learn what it's like to be within a firm's infrastructure, and then go to an outsourced firm? What do you think?
I think it could be done either way, to be honest. I think it's outsourced firms, depends on the size of the firm as to whether or not that's a practical step. We've taken steps to grow our business over the last year or so, where we have recruited people. Now, the people that we've recruited are trainees, effectively. So they are in, going down that journey of becoming a paraplanner. They're not kind of, given cases to write without any supervision or any support or help at all. That's exactly, what they are, what they're doing. They're working on cases. They've got, us very much on hand so that we can help and support them, and every case is a training opportunity pretty much. So for us, we're at the size now where taking on someone with less experience is more viable than it would have been when you're just taking on your first or your second hire. So absolutely it is an option. Going into an outsourced paraplanning firm is a completely different thing than working in a financial planning firm. You do different things. You have different relationships. You only understand your own processes rather than the firm's processes. So there's lots of value to be added by going directly into a financial planning firm, as long as it's the right financial planning firm and they're aligned with your values and the attitudes, and they treat you how you want to be treated and all that kind of stuff. So understanding the culture of that firm is going to be really important. But yeah, there's a lot of value to be added through that route as well. Doesn't have to be in a financial planning firm. It could be something else that's more relevant. For example, the new hires that we've taken on have come through banking. So experience in financial planning within banking, but it's obviously very, very different than financial planning firms. So I think there's definite benefits for either route. Taking someone on with no experience at all is a really difficult thing, not just for the employer, not just for the outsourced paraplanning employer, but just for that person. That journey that they've got to go through is going to be really, really tough for them. They might have started their diploma, they might have got their diploma, but that really is just such a small part in the overall picture of what makes a paraplanner. It's just it's difficult to kind of comprehend that learning journey that they're going to have to go on, and a lot of them aren't prepared for that journey either. They've got the view, wherever they've got that view from, that they do the diploma and then suddenly they'll be given a job as a paraplanner and they'll earn 30 grand a year, and that's not the case.
No,
as you know.
Yeah, it's not. And do you think there is, a beautiful transition would be almost, I don't know, somebody leaving university, right? And they embark on their journey into financial planning profession. Do you, and we talk about financial planner academies and that transition from uni into financial planning, which is really, really hard. It doesn't just grow on trees, job opportunities like that. And there are things like the apprenticeship levy and training and development and funding that's going towards that now. Do you think it would ever be like that for paraplanners? Do you think someone would hear about a power planning role at university and then say, that's what I want to do?
If I have my way, yes. That's exactly what I want. And that's what we kind of see as well through the Paraplanner Club and, communities like NextGen. There's interest coming into the paraplanning or the financial planning world, but it's very much like, okay, oh yeah, I've decided I want to be a financial planner, because they've only heard about financial planners. They haven't heard about paraplanning. And I don't know why they haven't heard about it, but then that's obviously because paraplanners aren't shouting loud enough about it. So that's another reason why something like the Paraplanner Club. It's not the only reason, but things like that. We would just want to promote being awesome at doing paraplanning, but also having that as a profession, because we do get people applying for the Paraplanner Club scheme. On the basis that they want to be a financial planner, and that's not really what we're aligned to do. But when we talk about it with them, they sort of say, oh, actually, what you're saying, that is more aligned to what I want to do. Because again, it's down to personality type. It's down to, well, what do you see yourself doing? What do you like doing on a day-to-day basis? One of the famous questions is, do you like spreadsheets, or does that horrify you? And if they say, oh, actually, I quite like spreadsheet work. Well, being a financial planner, it might not be the job for you then, because most of them do not like spreadsheets for a very good reason, because that's the job of the paraplanner, to really like, spending those hours on a spreadsheet, making sure that you've got all of that data in there, it's all right and correct. And then you can worry about actually what's the financial plan for the client rather than the data.
It's ability to challenge somebody's beliefs and what they think they should be doing. And I think we all have this idea in our head based on what we see around us as we're growing up. I certainly went through that, to get the money, to get the house, to get the car, I need to be doing the thing that is the shiniest. I have to be, I have to be out there selling. I have to be a financial advisor, the thing that looks glitz and the glamour. And actually deep down inside, they're just not suited to that. And I think it's about challenging somebody on what they think they should be doing, on really what they are intrinsically supposed to do, what makes them happy.
Being really honest with yourself about what are you good at, or what do you want to be good at, and what will make you happy. It all comes down to being happy. What is going to make you happy as a person? For some people, it is, I love selling. That's my passion. Fine, okay, go out and do selling. Then that financial planning, as being a financial planner, might well be for you. Then it's not the only thing about the job, but it sounds like that. You've got that drive to be able to want to do that. But yeah, it's definitely not suited for everyone. But yeah, it's down to promotion. It's down to how come these graduates are hearing about becoming a financial planner, but they're not hearing about becoming a paraplanner.
Well, let's talk about that, because you've set up the Paraplanner Club, haven't you?
Yes, yeah, and it's not the main objective to make that happen, but it's certainly part of it.
Okay, so what's the objective of the Paraplanner Club? Why did you set it up?
So going back to probably the discussion we had quite a while ago about the route of becoming a paraplanner, specifically within financial planning firms, it just is, it's great to be if you're lucky, really. So there's usually not a route there for an administrator or someone coming in at entry level to then become a paraplanner. And to actually go through that route, there's usually nobody kind of overseeing the training of them, because they don't need T&C to be a paraplanner. So that was really lacking. And also, I've seen this time after time. If you're an administrator and a paraplanner, that's what you want to be. You have no kind of, you're not outward drive to be a financial planner. You're just left there, and they need somebody somewhere to go to that is going to help them to achieve what they want to achieve. It might be in that firm. It might be that they do actually then end up wanting to be a financial planner. but they haven't got the confidence or even the support or anything in that firm to know exactly what they want to do. So it's just providing that support to people that want to be awesome paraplanners, and that could be somebody that's not even in the industry that thinks that might be for them. It could be somebody that's already a senior paraplanner that then has aspirations to go on and do something else, whether it's moving into outsourced, or just they want to take that next step up, which could be slightly outside of paraplanning, working in financial planning firms, kind of more at board level or things like that. So that's the real kind of aim, and what that really looks like is one-to-one mentoring. So we match up mentors and mentees that apply to the scheme, and give them a safe space, so they can talk about what they need and what they're getting or not getting.
Having a mentee or being a mentor, and both, is hugely powerful. I've experienced it myself.
Oh yeah.
And take away the money aspect of it, so nobody gets any financial gain out of it, and you're doing it completely altruistically. Is huge, because the mentor learns by teaching, and the mentee then becomes a mentor, and there goes the cycle, and you build this lovely community of people that are looking out for each other and supporting each other in a kind and compassionate way that is going to help each other. And I think that's hugely valuable. So what you're doing isn't you're not making money out of it, are you? You're doing it for greater good.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's because I see that there is an absolute need for it to happen. And and going back to our sort of other conversation about building paraplanning as a profession and building it as something that is seen as more of a collaboration, that will only happen if we build groups of paraplanners that are confident, that are generally at a more senior level, because they've built that confidence, they've got that experience, and now having a group of mentors, those are people that are in that group. They are the more confident paraplanners, because we are a different personality type. We might well be confident, but we're mostly quite internal, not extroverted. So we're not going to put ourselves out there. For me, and we did personality testing the other day, and we were talking about it on the webinar that we ran this week. For me, I'm pretty much in the balance. I'm just slightly over introvert rather than extrovert. But some of the mentors that we've got, they were mostly on the kind of 75% introverted, some up to 97% introverted. So, but that doesn't surprise me. But because they're more confident, they are happy to kind of get involved in speaking out to let people know what paraplanners are about. And that's where going back to getting people into the industry, seeing paraplanning as an option. If they hear from us, then they will know that we're a thing that they might be interested in, might get involved in.
No, 100%. And nobody sort of stands out really massively to me as being that kind of face, if you like, of paraplanning, face of the financial, face of the paraplanning profession. And I think if you can build upon that and bring people through it, but also kind of train them and develop them perhaps about how they can speak about their services, promote themselves on social media as well, which a lot of people feel uncomfortable to do, obviously, especially if you're more of an introvert type person. Then not only is that going to sort of grow the group and create a more better, stronger community, but it's just going to get that opportunity, get the role out there in front of the right people, so they do consider it as a viable career option, and it doesn't get overshadowed by the financial planner role, which is equally as important, but doesn't get overshadowed. But it gives people the choice, doesn't it? It's like, well, where am I? Who am I? What type of personality am I? Where would I be best? Where would I best fit? And I think if you can help somebody earlier on to make that choice, then perhaps they won't waste or feel as resentful about wasting as much time doing the thing they don't want to do.
And I've seen financial planners doing a financial planner job, and absolutely, you can tell as an experienced paraplanner, they need to be in a paraplanning team. They shouldn't be a financial planner, and they're in a rut now because they're getting all of that pressure they don't want. They're not in a job which they like. They might be earning the salary that they need. So can they afford to take that step back, which is where the money comes in, which they shouldn't have to, because we should be paid equally anyway. So it's a really difficult, it's a difficult thing to sort of comprehend. And I think from my motivations about doing the Paraplanner Club or doing things like this even, does this feel natural to me, getting on, putting myself out there? Not completely, because I'm not extroverted. But do I need to do it to build the profession? Absolutely. And I want by me doing it, it might then, encourage others to do it as well that are in paraplanning. So, and the more that the industry hears about from paraplanners, and the more people are encouraged to come in because they've heard about paraplanning, the better. So it's kind of just always telling myself, well, that's the reason why I'm doing it, and just getting out there.
How can people join the Paraplanner Club?
So we have a website. If they are somebody that wants to be a mentor, they can apply to be a mentor with us. Myself and Chloe. So Chloe is the co-founder, co-director along with me. So we set it up together. We would have a chat with them to make sure that they understand the commitment of it, because like we said already, nobody gets paid for any of this stuff. It's doing it from because you want to do it. So it's just about making sure that they understand that commitment, and then they're a right fit. They have to have a certain level of experience of building relationships. Someone that mentees will feel comfortable with. So we would talk to them to make sure that they understand that and they're a right fit for being a mentor with us. And then mentees, we have the applications come through thick and fast, again through our website, and you apply. We then make sure that again we're a right fit. If they say I want to be a financial planner, or I've got some other kind of need and that's why I've approached you, then it might not be we might not be for them. But if we are, then we send them kind of a bit of a values questionnaire to really set them up so that when they have a meeting with their mentor, they've got something to talk about. They've had some deep thinking time where they can really understand what their values are, why are they coming to us, what do they actually want, and then the mentor or mentee can explore that together in their meetings. So that's how people apply for the scheme. Generally what it looks like is when the mentor and the mentee are matched up, then they have regular meetings, usually sort of once a month at lunchtime, all remotely, because we've tried to make it as accessible as possible. And we know that paraplanners, being chained to our desk in an office, you have a lunch break, so at least you should be able to use that to have a meeting if you wanted to. So we've set it up as sort of easily as we possibly can, no barriers to entry for anybody that actually needs it.
Okay.
And then going forward, they agree with their mentor how often they need a meeting, and most of them that have been with us for a while are moving out to kind of having a meeting every couple of months or 3 months, or on an ad hoc basis, just as and when needed.
Fantastic. Great. So it's there, it's accessible. There's a website. I'll put all of that in the links as well, so people can take a look and see
Great.
how they can join the club. So that sounds fantastic. Excellent. Sian, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for running us through, an outline of your career and some of your thoughts and feelings around the paraplanner role, the career of, and the ups and downs and the things that we need to consider really from both sides, being a financial planner and being a paraplanner, and the difference really being in-house over to the outsourced paraplanning side. And I think we're both in huge agreement, aren't we, that it's a great profession. The financial planning profession is great.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about financial advice. There's a great deal to be done in other roles, and they'll only grow as well. We're not even talking about the marketing side anymore. That's growing massively for these firms. Some of the tech elements as well is going to be growing. But fundamentally, what is considered to be the backbone of these firms, from the sound of things that from talking to paraplanners, good quality paraplanners, is a paraplanner, and they're going to be the guys and girls that are going to be supporting the newbie financial advisors to make sure that they're ticking the right boxes and giving the right advice.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more.
Fabulous. Sian, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome, Sam. Nice to talk to you.